Greetings, salutations, everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about an anime called Mushoku Tensei. Now, I am aware that I already did a video on this series. However, that video is more of an initial reaction to the first 3 episodes, and this is more of a post-airing of the season 1, part 1 entirety. Its entirety. And I was going to go back and look at my initial reaction to the first 3 episodes, the previous video I did of this series. However, I found out like 3 seconds in that I was actually repulsed by it on a cellular level, and I couldn't do it, and I had to leave. And so I'm going to pretend that video doesn't exist, and I'm going to continue acting like this is the first time I talked about the series. For all those who don't know what the synopsis of the show is, 34-year-old neat virgin guy gets hit by a truck and gets reincarnated into a fantasy world of magic and dragons and swords and blah 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 blah. We've all heard this before if we ever heard of an isekai anime, and that is due to the fact that apparently this is the OG isekai that everyone copycatted and spliced like its bits and pieces into their own individual stories. And the reason for that is because this series is quite good, especially with its world building. Now, this adaptation needed to take a slow start. It needed to take a slow start because there's a whole lot it needed to introduce, like there was in the original source material. And so when I saw that I was taking that slow burn up into where things actually take off, I was really excited because I was like, yes, they're doing it right. And when that happened, I was expecting a 24 episode season 1 in return, because you can't just have all this build up to a couple episodes of actual story and then end it there. But that's apparently exactly what they did. The first 8 episodes, because this is an 11 episode season 1 part 1, there's 11 episodes in it, and the first 8 episodes are just foundation building, introducing the world, building it up, introducing the characters and showing how they interact with each other. And that's what the first 8 episodes are out of 11. So there's only 3 episodes of when the actual story takes off, which was kind of devastating to me. I searched 4 different places to be is this actually only 11 episodes long? And sure enough, it is. And when I came to that discovery, it kind of, broke my heart and shattered my soul into millions of pieces, or at least what's left of both of those. And that wasn't even the only fault in the show itself. There was, of course, good parts about the show. It had good animation. It had the good build up that I really thought the show needed to really shine. It had good music, sound design. It had all these good little parts. However, the show also suffered through really weird, didn't kill the show. It didn't hurt it, but I thought that in a show where world building, because this is mostly an adventure series, this isn't really an action. There's a lot of action in it. Well, not a whole lot, but there's, quite a bit. But it's mostly adventure. And so in an adventure series, it would need a lot of good world building to really build it up. And it got all the major things right, except it kept on just letting out really small things that really would have made everything come together. And there wasn't really a reason why they would cut it all out. For instance, going back to Rudy in his super babyish stage where he started to learn magic and starting to learn how it worked, he had this inner monologue of, oh, but this world said that you can't build up your magic capacity, but that's exactly what I'm doing. And then he had this whole theory of maybe it's because I'm a baby and babies can't use magic normally, so that's what they initially thought. And blah, 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 blah. However, he also just left out a bunch of other stuff regarding the world's magic system, especially the chantless magic system, which didn't have any sort of discussion at all. For instance, Rudy discovered that if you have some sort of traumatic experience with a certain type of element, you can't use a chantless version of it. When he was teaching his childhood friend, whose name escapes me at the moment, he realized that she couldn't use chantless fire magic because when she was like 3 months old, she was burned by a stove, and so she couldn't use chantless fire magic. And he can't use healing magic chantless for some reason. But they didn't get into any of that for whatever reason. I don't know. It was just a couple of inner voice lines they could have thrown in there, but they didn't go into it at all. And I found that kind of strange. And this isn't even the first instance of them doing that. I don't know if I into all the nitty gritty little details of all the things they left out. I don't know if that's a good idea because I don't know. People are just watching this for the first time. But they just left out a lot of small details I thought would have made everything a lot cooler. And there's no reason for them to have left them out. I don't know. I just thought it was weird that they just didn't include some things that I thought would have made things cooler. But overall, it didn't really ruin the whole experience. I just thought that would have made the experience a lot more enjoyable. But they just left out certain bits and pieces for whatever the hell reasons. I don't know. Maybe the animation budget made it so that they couldn't record a few more voice lines. Anything's possible. And the show also helped me remember how much I fucking hated Eris. Holy shit. I hated her character so much, and I forgot how much I hated her until I watched the anime. Because Eris is a character that gets introduced later on, for those who don't know, and she's a little redheaded chick, and almost like every scene she's like causing some sort of physical damage to Rudy. Even like in idle scenes where they're just like standing by each other, she's like holding him by his hair, and I don't know why she's such a bitch. I don't know. I just remember that. The show also like reminded me of how weird it was that they like taught Rudy all this stuff on how to interact with girls from like a super early age. Like his friend giving him advice with girls when he's 5, and his like relative telling him that, hey, you can take the beds in the back to an 8-year-old. I don't know why everyone expects him to be some sort of black belt in slaying pussy. But that's just how they treat him, I guess. Despite the fact he's only 10. And you get to see like later on how apparently how much of a master he is at bending the art of pussy. Later on, I guess. And yeah. And if we're gonna actually pretend that the first video I did on the series doesn't actually exist, which I definitely am, the reason why I was initially super attracted to the series when I first read the source material is because this is an isekai anime, and usually in these types of shows, the main character becomes some sort of god in battle and gets all the women and acts basically the same as every other isekai protagonist. It's just a power fantasy, and they're all pretty bland and generic and boring. However, this isekai is different, because despite the fact that Rudy is overpowered, he doesn't really have combat experience, and he's not really comfortable with the act of killing people, which may upset some of the viewers, but he is just a Japanese person, a 34-year-old loser, and from what my understanding, the Japanese people are typically pretty peaceful, and him even more so because, I mean, he was bullied for having a small dick. Do you really expect him to throw a fist on the first confrontation he has? Absolutely not. And he also fucks up a lot. Like people get hurt due to his poor decision making. He's not some sort of genius or savant. He is just a 34-year-old guy. He's trying his best to live a second life because he failed horribly at his first. And so he's trying his best, and due to the fact that he's a child making very adult decisions, people get mistaken and thinking that he's a genius, which costs people their safety. But I think it's going to do it for today's video. I do recommend you check out the series a whole lot. I hope I managed to get my points across. And yeah, this is a pretty good isekai. I do recommend you check it out if you get the opportunity to do so. There's also a lot of good isekais coming out this season. You know, we have Log Horizon Season 3, which I refused to watch until I watched the previous 2 seasons, or rewatched them. My bad. and there's the part 2 of season 2 of ReZero, which I also refuse to watch until it's finished airing. And so this is good season of Good Isekais for whatever reason. But yeah, that's enough of me bantering on about a bunch of other shows. That's gonna do it for today's video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Maybe check out my next video, whenever that may be, apparently. Well, in the meantime, farewell.